All right, in this quick tip, I'm going to show you how to play those famous Bill Evans chord voicings. So I'm talking about these nice rootless chord voicings that Bill Evans is so famous for. So if I put on an iReal Pro track and here's just a 2-5-1 progression, take a listen to what that sounds like. You know, a lot of times players would play this kind of stuff like block chords, right? But it sounds like, it doesn't sound very jazzy, right? Listen to when we do these Bill Evans voices. Sounds much better, right? All right, so let's get into how to form these Bill Evans rootless chord voicings. All right, so the first thing that we do is we start by playing our guide tones. Now, guide tones are great to know because you can utilize them for improvisation. You could just play guide tones for your chord voicings in the left hand. Believe it or not, yes, 2 notes is enough for a chord voicing in the left hand, and sometimes it's even preferred to just play those 2 notes or 3-note chords because it opens up the sound a little bit more. All right, so anyway, let me explain what that sounds like and looks like. All right, so first of all, we're going to be doing this over the 3 basic types of 7th chords. That's our major 7th chord, our minor 7th chord, and our dominant 7th chord. All right, so first of all, for the C major, we could start with our basic C major 7th chord, root, 3, 5, 7. And we play the 3rd and the 7th. That's the 3rd and the 7th of the chord. Again, there's your basic C major 7th chord. If you need help with these types of chords, I got a great blueprint right back at Jazzedge Academy that you can get absolutely free. Talks about all of your intermediate chords, these types of chords, shows you how to form them, sheet music, practice, items, all of that good stuff. You can go back to the site for that. All right, so anyway, C major 7th, root, 3, 5, 7. If we play the 3rd and the 7th, that is our guide tones, okay? Now, do we have to do 3rd and 7th? No, we could also do 7th and 3rd, right, with 7th on the bottom. But for right now, we're gonna put the 3rd on the bottom and the 7th on the top. And the fingering that we're going to be using is this. We're going to be using our 2nd finger and our pinky, okay? 2nd finger and pinky, all right? For right now, I'll move my fingers out of the way, but you're really going to want to just keep your fingers over the keys, okay? Now, for C minor, there's my C minor 7th block chord, right? Root, 3, 5, 7. So I'm going to play the 3rd and the 7th with the pinky and the 2nd finger. So there's C major, there's C minor. Difference between major and minor is we flat the 3rd and we also flat the 7th. And then finally, C dominant 7th. There's our C dominant 7th chord. Root, 3, 5, 7. We're going to play 3 and 7. Okay. So we have major, minor, dominant 7th. That's the first step, is to be able to do that. Okay. Major, minor, dominant 7th. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 1 note above our guide tones. So we're going to take 1 note and we're going to put it above our guide tones. That means we're going to be playing a note above the 2nd finger, so that means we're going to be using our thumb for that, okay? So the note that we're going to use is the 2nd note above the root, but we often call that the 9th, right? On all of these chords, we're going to call it the 9th. If you need help deciphering when to call it 9 or 2, there's plenty of lessons back at Jazzedge Academy. It talks all about those chord tensions, all right? For right now, though, we just know that this is called the 9th of the chords, okay? And it is the same note as the 2nd, okay? So we're going to add that in to all 3 chords. So it's pretty simple, right? We're just going to have exactly the same note on all 3 of those chords. There's C minor and there's C dominant 7th. Now, if you want to hear what this chord sounds like with a bass player or a root, what you could do is just take your other hand, put it underneath, and just play a C. So there's C major, there's C minor, and there's C dominant 7th. Beautiful chords. Now, these 3-note chords are especially useful, and I suggest that you really start to understand these chords and start to practice them, because these are great chords to be able to play, to be able to kind of open up your improvisation, right? And what I mean by that is when you play a 4-note chord, now you have more notes that can conflict in your improv, right? When I do my 4-note chords, which I'm just going to show you in a second, right? There's more notes there to conflict with. But when I play these kind of more open sounding chords, right? it means that there's less notes to conflict with my right hand, and it gives me a more open harmony to improvise over, okay? So anyway, 3-note chords, good to know. All right, now finally, step 3, we played one note above, now we're gonna fill in a note in between, right? So that means we're gonna fill in a note in between the second finger and the pinky. And we're gonna be utilizing our middle finger, okay? Some students like to use the 4th finger, but I really suggest against that because you'll see down the road where that 4th finger is not gonna work out so well. So the middle finger might feel a little bit weird, but I'm gonna show you a trick for that in just a second. All right, so here's C major. The note that we're gonna add in the middle for both the major and the minor will be the 5th. So there's C major, we're gonna add in the 5th. There's C minor, we're gonna add in the 5th. On the dominant 7th chord, we're going to add in the 13th, which is the same note as 6. And another way of looking at it is it's a half step away from that 7th. So there's my flatted 7th for the C7. It's going to be a half step away. So that you can hear with that 13th in there, it creates a lot of bite, doesn't it? Right? And that's the reason why we're using it. We could use the 5th rather than the 13th, right? Still sounds good. And this would really sound good in certain circumstances as well, where we don't want that bite. But if we really want that jazz sound, that bite in there is really, that's the key. All right, so let's go through those 3 chords again. C major 7th, I'll put the root down here. C minor 7th, and finally, C dominant 7th. C major 7th, C minor 7th, C dominant 7th. All right, so now I said that I would share with you a trick on how to be able to play these chords a little bit easier. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you are moving in and out of the key bed, right? So this is your key bed, this is deeper in the key bed, this is shallower in the key bed. So if I play all of the notes out here, you might see that like kind of get jammed up in my arm or whatnot. So I might have to move these fingers. So you see how the middle finger is a little bit further back there? See how the thumb is right at the end? When I go to C minor, notice I'm moving my hand, right? You could see it right here. See how I'm moving my hand in a little bit? That second finger is way up there on that B flat. And I'm also grabbing at those notes. Take a look at my quick tip on jazz piano technique, right? And on the C dominant 7th. So just take a look, watch this screen, the side screen right here, the picture-in-picture, and just watch my hand as it moves. So you see how I'm moving in and out of the key bed, deeper and shallower, right? All right, if you want to see me break down these practice actions, go ahead back to Jazzedge Academy /quick tips, and then you can get all of these practice actions absolutely free. It's a great way of really being able to know what to practice and be able to practice along with me. All right, it's a great motivator. All right, so anyway, thanks for joining me. Be sure if you like these quick tips, you'd like to know when I come out with more of them, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click like on that video. I appreciate it. All right, take care. I'll see you in the next one.